Hello, Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. My name is NURUL SYAKINAH binti Ahmad Nur. My number matric is 11D8024F1036. Morning madam and fellow classmates. Today, our group will present an analysis of an article entitled Analysis of Road Crash Trends in Malaysia 2012 until 2022. The article we selected uses official data from the Ministry of Transport Malaysia to analyze road crashes and fatalities from 2012 to 2022. It also includes several graphs and charts that clearly illustrate the trends, movements, and distribution patterns of road accidents across different states in Malaysia. The purpose of our presentation is to analyze these graphs and charts by explaining the overall trends, comparing the data, and interpreting the key findings. We hope these presentations will provide a better understanding of road safety trends in Malaysia and highlight the importance of using data to support road safety improvements. Although, let's begin with the descriptions of the graphs and charts.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is ELIYANA binti and today I will be presenting the findings on road fatalities in Malaysia from 2012 to 2022. Specifically, I will discuss Figure 3 and Figure 4. Figure 3 presents the overall trends of road fatalities by different types of road users, while Figure 4 provides a more detailed analysis of the fatality trends for each road user category individually. Through these figures, we can identify which road users are more vulnerable and observe how road fatality patterns have changed over time, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic period. Now, let's begin with Figure 3. Figure 3 shows the road fatality trend by type of road users in Malaysia from 2012 to 2022. The x-axis represents the years from 2012 to 2022, while the y-axis represents the number of road fatalities. Based on the graph, motorcyclists recorded the highest number of fatalities throughout the study period with approximately 4,000 to 4,500 deaths per year. The highest number was recorded in 2016 at around 4,500 fatalities. Car users recorded the second highest number of fatalities, ranging between 715 and 1,500 deaths annually. For pedestrians, fatalities range from approximately 270 to 530 deaths per year. A significant decline in fatalities can be observed during 2020 and 2021, which was likely influenced by movement restriction during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, fatalities increased again in 2022 as transportation and road activities returned to normal. Next, I will move on to Figure 4, which provides a more detailed view of the fatality trends for each road users category. Figure 4 presents the individual trends of road fatalities for each type of road user. The x-axis shows the years from 2012 to 2022, while the y-axis shows the number of fatalities. For motorcyclists, fatalities were the highest among all categories, reaching approximately 4,500 deaths in 2016. The number then decreased to about 3,100 deaths in 2020 and 2021, before increasing again to around 4,100 deaths in 2022. For car users, fatalities decreased from approximately 1,450 cases in 2012 to around 750 cases in 2021, before rising to about 1,100 cases in 2022. Pedestrian fatalities show a consistent downward trend declining from approximately 530 cases in 2012 to around 270 cases in 2020 and 2021, followed by a slight increase in 2022. Bus fatalities generally declined throughout the study period, dropping from around 60 cases to almost 0 cases during 2020 and 2021. Meanwhile, van fatalities showed the most noticeable increase in 2022, rising from approximately 50 cases in 2021 to about 120 cases in 2022. In conclusion, motorcyclists remain the most vulnerable road users in Malaysia throughout the study period. The COVID-19 pandemic and movement restriction contributed to a temporary reduction in road fatalities, but the number increased again in 2022 as normal road activities resumed.
My name is QISTINA Binti Mama Syahri. I'm a matric number 118 103. I will present finger 5 and 6 from this study. Finger 5 go the route crash train by that in Malaysia from 2012 to 2022. My finger 5 because the route crash train per year that immediately making it easy to compare the pattern among the time. Now let's begin with finger 5. As we can give more that to an increasing trend from 2012 to 2019. Kelangor record the average number of road crash followed by Goho. In 2020 and 2021, the number of crash decreased sharply. Then in 2022, the number decreased again in almost every day. Overall, more deaths followed the game trend during this period. Now let's move finger 6. This finger to the road crash trend per year death separately. So it is easy to compare them. Kelangor at the annual number of crashes throughout the year, while Berlin had the lower. Johor also record a high number of crashes, although the number are different almost all the consistent pattern. The number of crashes increased before 2020, decreased during 2020 and 2021, and increased again in 2022. Thank you.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is NURUL Binti Sazali. My metric number is 11DAT24F1043. So my part is I will explain about the road crashes that show in Malaysia from 2012 to 2019. Now I will explain about figure 7, which illustrates the linear graph of road crashes in Malaysia between 2012 and 2022. So, as we can observe, the x-axis represents the years, while the y-axis shows the number of road crashes. As we can see, the number of road crashes showed a steady upward trend from 2012 to 2019, reaching its highest levels in 2019. However, a sharp decline was observed in 2020 and 2021. According to this study, this decline can be attributed to COVID-19 pandemic, during which movement restriction and lockdown significantly reduced the traffic volume. In 2022, the number of road crashes is increased once again as travel and daily activities gradually return to normal. Overall, for figure 7, we demonstrate how the pandemic temporarily disrupted the long-term trend of road crashes in Malaysia. Next, let's move to figure 8. Unlike figure 7, this graph excludes the years 2020 and 2021 in order to eliminate the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, the graph clearly demonstrates a significant upward trend in road crashes over time. For 2012 to 2019, the number of road crashes increased consistently, and the data for 2020 continues to support this pattern. The study also reports an average increase of approximately 10,821 road crashes per year, indicating that road crashes had been rising steadily before the pandemic. When we comparing both figures, figure 7 reflects the influence of the pandemic, whereas figure 8 provide a more accurate representation of the long-term trend. So, in conclusion, both figures suggest that road crashes in Malaysia were generally increasing, while the decline observed during 2020 and 2021 was largely a temporary effect of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Hi, my name is ASHVEERA BINTI and my matrix number is 11-24F1076. Moving on to the next critical part of our data analysis, we will be looking at the long-term trajectories of road fatalities in Malaysia using linear regression models. The researchers wanted to understand if road deaths are truly increasing or decreasing over the 10 years period from 2012 to 2022. To do this accurately, they had to look at the data in two different ways, which bring us to figure 9 and figure 10. Alright, first let us focus on figure 9, which is titled The Linear Trend of Fatality from 2012 to 2022. The layout, the x-axis represent the timeline in years, and the y-axis track the total number of fatalities. The jagged line plots the actual annual dates, while the straight blue line represent the statistical linear trend. The visual observation, as you can see, the actual line remains high and peaks around 2016 and then suddenly plummet drastically between 2019 and 2021. So, the statistical problem, mathematically, this model shows a high goodness of fit with an R-square value of 0.5443, meaning about 54.4% of the data match this line. However, the researchers pointed out a major flaw here. This massive, sharp drop in the graph was caused entirely by the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown and movement control orders. Because people were forced to stay home, traffic volume naturally vanished. Therefore, this sudden drop skews the long-term data and does not reflect a normal, realistic trend of road safety intervention. Okay, to fix this data distortion and find the true narrative, look at figure 10, titled Linear Trend of Number of Fatality from 2012 to 2019 and 2022. The adjustment in this graph, the researchers intentionally remove the anomalous pandemic years of 2020 and 2021 from the linear equation to see what happened under regular traffic condition. The result, by filtering out the pandemic irregularity, the mathematical model instantly improved. The multiple R-square value jumped up to 0.6353, proving that this adjusted model is much more reliable and explains over 63.5% of the data variance. So, the key trend, if you closely observe the blue regression line in figure 10, it maintains a highly distinct, statistically significant downward slope. The mathematical equation confirmed that under normal conditions, Malaysia experiences an average decrease of approximately 93 fatalities per year. With that, I will hand the presentation over to the next presenter to discuss the state clustering analysis. Thank you.
For my part, which is a figure 13. This figure shows the elbow method, which is used to determine the best number of clusters before performing K-means clustering. The graph has two axes. The x-axis represents the number of clusters starting from 1 up to 10. The y-axis represents the within cluster sum of squares, or WSS. WSS measures how close the data points are within each cluster. In simple terms, it tells us how well the data is grouped together. A lower WSS value means the data points in a cluster are more similar to each other, which indicates better clustering. Looking at the graph, we can see that when there is only one cluster, the WSS value is very high at 360. This happens because all the data is placed into a single group, so there is a lot of variations within that cluster. When the number of clusters increase from 1 to 2, the WSS drops sharply from 360 to 102.75. This is a very large improvement, showing that dividing the data into two groups makes the clusters much more compact and organized. After two clusters, the WSS continues to decrease, but the improvement becomes much smaller. For example, at 3 clusters, the WSS is 72.58. At 4 clusters, it decreased to 54.57. By 10 clusters, it reaches 10.19. Although the WSS keeps decreasing, the reduction after K2 is much slower compared to the first drop. This means adding more clusters only provides a small improvement while making the model more complex. This is why the point at K2 is called the elbow point. It is the point where the curve changes from a steep decline to a flatter curve, similar to the shape of an elbow. The researchers selected 2 clusters because it provides the best balance between accuracy and simplicity. It groups the road crash data effectively without creating unnecessary clusters. The table below the graph also lists the exact WSS values for each number of clusters. For example, 1 cluster 360, 2 clusters 102, 3 clusters 72.458, which is these values match the graphs and clearly show that the biggest reduction happens when moving from 1 cluster to 2 clusters. After that, the decreases become smaller, which confirms that 2 clusters is the optimal choice. Let's look at the both figures on the slide to understand road safety across Malaysian states. The data splits the country into 2 groups, a safer group in blue and a high-risk group in red. In figure 12, on the left, you can see the most states sit safety in the bottom corner. However, Selangor and Johor stand out completely in the high-risk group. Selangor has the highest number of crashes, while Johor has a very high number of road deaths. The paper notes this is driven by heavy traffic, lots of people, and big road networks. In figure 13 on the right, we look at this data year by year from 2012 to 2020. The main takeaway is that this pattern never changed every single year for a decade. Selangor and Johor stay locked in the high-risk group, even during the COVID lockdowns on 2020 and 2021, when overall traffic dropped. These two states still stay in the high-risk group. In conclusion, 10 years of data shows that a single plan for the whole country will not work. It fully supports the Ministry of Transport's focus on targeted, state-specific plans to fix the problems in Selangor and Johor. I think we already at the end of this page. In conclusion, this study analyzed road crash trends and patterns in Malaysia from 2012 to 2020. The finding shows that motorcycles were the most involved in road crashes and fatalities, while Selangor recorded the highest number of crashes. Although road crashes generally increase over time, the number of fatalities showed a decreasing trend, indicating improvements in road safety. The COVID-19 pandemic temporarily reduced road crashes due to movement restrictions. The study also used K-means clustering to identify high-risk states, which can help the government focus on improving road safety measures. Overall, this research provides valuable information for developing better policies and strategies to reduce road accidents and make Malaysia roads safer in the future. That's all from us. Thank you.